Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Olsem Wanem. I'm Florence John Duo. In this week's episode, we look at littering in Papua New Guinea, focusing in on our capital city, Port Moresby. We talk to Mr. Nou Garo, an elderly citizen and long-term resident, and take a look back at what Port Moresby used to be like and what it is like today. We highlight the changes that have taken place. Are these changes good or bad? Olsem Wanem's Judah Memafu with this report.
Welcome to Port Moresby, capital of the largest Pacific island nation, Papua New Guinea. It's a fast-developing metropolis, a city that houses a diverse representative of the 800-plus cultures that make up the nation. A city that gives you but a glimpse of the beauty to find if you think you have what it takes to explore this land of the unexpected. But yet even paradise can have its flaws.
There were plenty of barren land, not many buildings, not many people. Mostly the people who were around were expatriates and local village people around. The landowners of this city, only they were there. Only those who were working, those who were training, and many people were. There were not many. Not comparing today, there were not many Papua New Guineans. Not much shipping or transport vehicles. Not many vehicles. It was quiet, a sort of quiet place. I vividly recall those days. I can recall that people used to bring passengers from the village, from Gaba Gaba to Koki Market, to market their garden foods and all that. And they used to sleep at Koki Market, sleep. The Koki Market was clean. Every afternoon people will clean it. When the rubbish, it was clean. People were clean. And they used to sleep near their goods, At the end of the day, they used to pack their things to them and sleep near them, and then next day continue sailing. And it's not like that today.
Port Moresby wasn't just any town that popped out into existence. It's been around since the 19th century, at one time a trade center, and during World War II, a prime objective of conquest by the Japanese imperial forces to cut off Australia from Southeast Asia and the Americas. The city has come a long way since then. Independence for the country ushered waves of development to push Moresby forward. Not only buildings and roads, but people, character, and new ways of thinking.
Not many buildings. Buildings were mostly concentrated in the town area and Boroko. Big buildings or big hospitals like today, no. Ella Beach was much quiet, cleaner. On weekend, it was dominated by white people. They used to go there with their eskies, with their kids, and wash and sunbath and so forth. It was very quiet. Today, it's only you can see only Papua New Guineans at Ella Beach, but those days it was more white people using the Ella Beach. Places like Boroko, because in those days more people were still interested in the village. They were gardening, fishing for themselves, making garden. They were more tied down to, not many people were educated, and because once people were educated, the purpose of getting an education is to work, go and work and earn money. But in the early days, money was not that important because we had plenty of food at back home.
You're watching Olsem Wanem. Rubbish anywhere is an eyesore. Littering not only diminishes the physical beauty of the world we live in, but it also poses some major problems for the people, plants and animals who are affected by it. According to Australian Doctors International, diseases that can be tied to the effects of littering like tuberculosis, malaria and other communicable diseases cause 62% of deaths in PNG. In this segment, we have a chat with the City Manager of the National Capital District Commission, Leslie Alu, and hear his thoughts on littering in the city.
Solmani gat good platintin ol by olim na kam tromin lo rapis ba sambla olino kam good platintin so all tromin number lo pivia lo road na lo all ketap.
How little we think of this single piece of rubbish that we throw out the window, into the drain and onto the side of the road. But over time, this same little piece of rubbish becomes something like this. We ride on the tag of the land of the unexpected, but it's supposed to push us more towards a positive surprise in store. We have a beautiful country, no doubt, a lot of which is yet to be seen by the rest of the world. But when tourists first land on our shores, it is the capital city they see, Port Moresby. Is this the type of first impression we want to portray to the world?
We are only a small city by global standards. We are not a very big city. But we have the same problems as those major cities. We've got waste management issues, we've got drainage issues, we've got education issues, we've got settlement issues. So these are not different to all those big cities. But we're on a smaller scale. So we want to make sure that with the help of the city residents, we can be able to overcome some of those challenges that we are facing.
What is it that causes us to just willfully and without thinking dispose our rubbish all around the place? Do we forget that this very city is our home, a place that we live in, breathe, grow, and eventually die in? Or maybe we've just given up hope that things can never change.
Back home in our villages, we tend to care for our villages. In villages, we've got set guidelines on how to keep your village clean. So the city also has its guidelines on how to keep the city clean. When the people migrate from rural to urban, they know that there is a city council, and they know that the role of the city council is to provide the general services for the city. That includes cleaning up of the rubbish. So they think that it is the role of NCDC to go and clean up the rubbish that they can just dispose anywhere. If they can change the mentality they have back home in the villages, because they know that in the village you cannot have a village authority to go and clean your rubbish up. It's up to you to go and clean your own rubbish.
So who exactly is to be blamed for the trash on the streets? The people who throw them there, or the people who clean it up? We have a responsibility, you and me, to look after our home. And if you live somewhere, anywhere at all, then I'm pretty sure you call it your home.
There is a lot of money to help clean the city. It's in millions, and I can't give you the figures right now, but so we've got city cleaning contracts that we allow contractors to help us clean the city. We've got PNG Gardener to city beautification. So those are not 100,000, they're in millions. So it costs NCDC a lot of money to keep the city clean. And if the city residents can be able to dispose their rubbish in those proper places or in the right places, that will reduce the amount of money that we will spend on city cleaning and divert that money to develop facilities for the city.
I think individuals we're supposed to take ownership and not to throw rubbish everywhere. And like plastic bags, when we buy food from the store, and then we have the control, we obviously need to go back to our cars, and then go and put it in the right place. And also NCD take the initiative to setting up the boxes for the rubbish. They need to be put it in the proper place and not to put rubbish elsewhere, because Once we put the rubbish everywhere, then we destroy our country by ourselves. So it's good that every individuals need to take ownership, not to throw rubbish elsewhere, but we have to control our rubbish and put the rubbish in a proper place.
Things can change for us. Maybe we should stop blaming everyone else and start taking responsibility for our actions. This is our city. Your city, my city, our city.
Welcome back to Olsem Wanem. With all that have been highlighted in the earlier segments on littering, we ponder on the question, who is to be blamed for the filth accumulating every day around us? And more so, whose responsibility is it to clean it up? Is it the government, the people, or who? You may not realize just how much of an impact it has both environmentally and financially. Even if you don't see any immediate consequences, there's still a trickle-down effect that has lasting impact on the future.
There's a saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Too many times we fail to look beyond what is in front of us and see what good fortune awaits if you only take a closer look.
Important lo keep city clean minimum government looks all lilik guanta lo bigla yes all man bal lugatum rubbish lol na miblo lilik magi miblagan miblo roots magi miblagan lugatum area tu na miblagan kama wasam city rangers na miblagan lugatum area lo mibla na city clean.
Well, what we are trying to do is develop Port Moresby as a city like Sydney, all other cities in the world. We want Port Moresby to be one like that. But you look at the people are not like people living in Sydney, and how Sydney started. Sydney started by people from white people who came there, who didn't have that land, who became landowners because all that land was owned by state. So they had the papers there, and they try to live by making businesses. That's their. Papua New Guineans are not. We have our gardens, we have our land, we have our place. So when they come here, whose place is this? It's nobody's place. It belongs to the government. It's their responsibility. That's the culture, the attitude we have.
We cannot laze around and expect free handouts to be given to us. What the country needs is more people who can start looking at what's in front of us and creating opportunities for ourselves. There is money to be made, and even though it may not grow on trees, you can certainly turn your garbage into gold.
Importance of tourism, and they know and appreciate what tourism can do to the local economy and to the local communities in terms of direct cash benefit, in terms of interaction with people of different cultures, different countries. Getting that sort of experience, learning more about other things, other people. It's just a general appreciation of tourism as such, and just taking that next step to maybe just doing the right thing about how we should look after our city. Because at the end of the day, we are inhabitants of the city, we are residents of the city.
The first impression to our visitors, we have lots of tourists, people coming in, business opportunities expanding, and we have outside people coming in. So seeing seeing our place being littered gives them a first impression of what our behavior is. We should start keeping the city clean and making people feel free.
Ownership of the city, if you love the city, it's just like your home. So that you look after the city and say, okay, I don't have to litter, I have to throw the rubbish in the litter bin. On our part, we fail to provide a lot of those litter bins. Again, like I said, those litter bins were subject to vandalism, so we cannot continue to spend money on bins that can be vandalized. But on our part, we've not been able to provide a lot of litter bins for the city residents, especially on public places.
Our future is in our hands. This very much includes the fate of our city. There are some that say that tougher penalties should be enforced to those that are caught. But what it boils down to is us taking up the responsibility of our own actions and being responsible citizens to uphold the law.
Why you put tougher penalties? What? Who will enforce them? It's nobody. So what I'm saying, even people know there's a law, but they keep on doing it. Even you put tougher laws, they keep on doing it. For example, buy ban is a law. People go to jail, they get killed, hurt, they still do it. There's nobody to enforce these laws. Even you put tougher penalties, people will still break them. Because there's nobody to enforce. Not enough policemen, not enough law enforcers.
Generally, I think it boils down to education and awareness and people's attitude generally. A lot of us do not seem, we seem to have this don't care attitude. We don't really try to think outside the box, so to speak. We're not seeing the bigger picture of what our little actions are doing. We just think that we'll just throw an empty tin of can or a plastic bottle, and someone's going to pick it up, or the wind will just blow it away, or the rain will just wash it away. And when we have instances such as the flooding of the road down here at Hohola, which happens every time there's a rain, people don't realize that it's because of all the rubbish that we throw into the drain.
It is everybody's responsibility. Because we all our ancestors live in a village community, and it was their job. Nobody goes around and collects rubbish. It's their job to clean their yard, the next one clean. The village is clean. Like in Moresby, it's everybody's responsibility. You clean your place, you don't have to throw rubbish out there. So it's everybody's job, because it's everybody that makes rubbish. But if they know how to abide by the laws or the rules of living in the city, where you have to put your rubbish in a proper place, then there would be no problem.
We cannot argue, however, that changes are being made in and around the capital city. Sculptures being erected, building booms taking place everywhere you look, flowers being planted, and new roads taking shape. But the lasting changes that need to happen are those that are going to happen up here and down here.
Welcome back. Each and every one of us has a role to play to ensure that our city is clean. The City Council does its part. The residents and visitors have their parts too. They say there is no I in team, and that through teamwork everybody can attain more. Can we band together to make our city clean, a model of cleanliness for the rest of the Pacific? After all, at the end of the day, this is our home.
Have you stopped to take a look at the city you live in? Have you stopped to gaze at the unique beauty you are surrounded by? There is no other place like Port Moresby, and yet we forget to appreciate this. We take for granted that we live in the capital city of the land of the unexpected.
If we look closer, we might, we might begin to understand, appreciate the sort of the uniqueness of Port Moresby. Yeah? We can start by its history, how Port Moresby came to be. If we educate our kids and our people to understand that, Ella Beach in its, on its own has its own history. You look at the war history in this part of the world. You have MacDouey lying out there in the harbor. Of course, the Motuan people, they have their own, traditional cultures, those sort of things. It's about protecting, enhancing their culture so people can learn about their cultural experiences. It's part of the cultural experiences. We have the Port Moresby Nature Park. People think it's a big dry city, but they forget that there's an oasis in the middle of the city where you can go and see unique bird species and PNG animals. You just take a short drive up to Sogeri and you see the bird of paradise. So the city has its own attractions. We have a good nightlife. We have some nice restaurants in town. So it's just about getting people to appreciate what we have.
At the moment, we are not a livable city in terms of global standards, but we are trying to make it livable for our people in PNG to start with. Yeah.
It's a sense of pride to represent your country, even more patriotic to cheer on the accomplishment of a fellow Papua New Guinean, the national colors, the electricity running through your body. That was the feeling of thousands of people which they felt when attending the 2015 Pacific Games, especially the fact that it was the biggest ever Pacific Games to date.
Prior to the Games, we were emphasizing that we need to clean up the city. We wanted all the vendors to not sell at the venue areas. We wanted all the vendors to be selling at the designated areas that we selected during the Games. And everybody complied with that. And for the 2 weeks, the game was a success to us. And we wanted the citizens to maintain that attitude they had. But straight after the Games, it went back to where it was before. They were selling at undesignated areas. The residents were just chewing the rubbish and throwing them out on the streets. So again, that created all the filth that we had before. But the boy ban is still on, and we are looking at methods on how to improve it. But we want to make it a win-win situation for our vendors, because we know that it's an income generating avenue for some of the settlers, some of the city residents who use that income to pay for their children's school fees or to live in the city. So we want to help our vendors as well, but they have to help us as well. So we set those guidelines which they have to follow, so we cannot be able to chase them around and have all kinds of problems. But if they can comply with the rules that we have, we can make life easy for them and easy for us as well. We've got those world-class events coming up, and we need our city residents to perform to the best of their ability to show that we've got a good city and to promote our city to the world. So it does not have to be a special event that we have to to keep the city clean. It has to be an everyday attitude that we got to take the city in our own hands, or take ownership of the city, so that we can look after the city.
Everyone has a role to play to make our city livable, to make it attractive, to make it beautiful.
Who want to live in a clean environment, because littering brings sickness and things like that, and it doesn't look good, attractive for expats and visitors.
Lotinim lumia milugo sama walk lo clean city walk lo omla cleana o walk lo ogaraman. Mas ogaraman imis around in the city and ogaraman mas kas la tinding lo lugo di city. Ogaraman yet mas lugi one mabem right up the trauma ppm lo ogaraman si yet na trauma ppm las la right up. Lily man going a big man, ogaraman, everybody.
Well, to be honest, there are people out here in town, and the public that is moving around. It will only come back to the individual, making a clear consent of their thinking and their thoughts and their movements and actions. That will tell that we need to keep our rubbish, keep it in where it needs to go, in drums, keep them safe for hygiene purposes.
Responsibility of government. Government can look at them. Na put them pre-irrigation, then put mulman, look at them area. Now, what's the city? City can clean.
It's everyone, from grassroots up to the parliamentarians. The government, the politicians make decisions. They can come down and clean, but they make decisions for the betterment for the citizens. So it's everyone, whoever is living in the resident, passing through, everybody's responsibility.
Our country celebrated 40 years of independence last year, and development taking place in and around the city certainly shows how times have changed. But change and development means adjustment in all areas and by all people.
My final advice to our city residents is that let's be all responsible. Let's be responsible for our city because it is our city. And all I can say is that let's take ownership of our city and let's look after it. In terms of cleanliness of our city, I would urge all city residents that not to throw rubbish out of your car windows, not to throw them on the footpaths or in any public places, but to dispose them in the bins that we provided, or take them home and dispose them in the bins that you have at your home. In that way, we all been responsible, so that we maintain the cleanliness of the city and improve the image of the city.
That ends this week's episode of Olsem Wanem. If you have any comments or stories you would like to share, do not hesitate to send us an email via the address showing on your screen, or leave us a message on our Facebook page. Join us again same time next week. Until then, from the Olsem Wanem team, it's goodbye for now.